Hi again, everybody, and welcome to Bengals Breakdown here on Bengals.com. I'm Dan Hoard. He is Bengals.com editor Geoff Hobson. And this week, the Bengals head to Buffalo looking to knock off the 2-0 Buffalo Bills. They love Andy Dalton in Buffalo after the way Dalton and Boyd helped the Buffalo Bills get to the playoffs a couple of years ago. And last year, when the Bengals went to Buffalo in the preseason, it was an Andy Dalton love fest. He got a standing ovation before the game. It's not going to be like that this week. It's a regular season game. The Bills are trying to get to 3-0 for the first time since 2011. And when you look at it, maybe Buffalo fans should not be as fond of Andy Dalton as they are, because he is 4-1 in his career against Buffalo. Yeah,
Hoardy, I had me on a Buffalo radio show this morning, and they were wondering, hey, don't give us the Bengals are in a spin. 2011, Andy Dalton and A.J. Green's first win at home was over the 3-0 Ryan Fitzpatrick-led Bills. And then in 2017, the Bills were riding pretty well at 3-1. Bengals knocked them off. And even in 15, the Bengals went up there. The Bills were winning. They had a 3-2 record. Bengals knocked them off. So plus you throw in the ties too. You know, you get the Bengals middle linebacker, Preston Brown, began his career in Buffalo. John Miller, the Bengals right guard, began his career in Buffalo. You get Tyler Kroft, the former Bengals tight end, probably will make his first season appearance since, I think, the first practice of the spring. He wrecked his foot. He's back. Looks like, and of course he's going to be back against the Bengals. So there's a lot of ties, but no, you're right. Won't be a love fest. They're trying to grind to get 3-0.
Let's talk about the Bengals offense as it tries to get the running game going against the Buffalo Bills this week. Buffalo, an excellent all-around defense, 6th in points allowed, 5th in yards allowed, top 10 against the run and against the pass. You've got a Bengals offense right now that's trying to get Joe Mixon going. There are 8 quarterbacks in the NFL, including Gardner Minshew, of all people, that have more rushing yards than Joe Mixon.
Speaking of 8, that's how many linemen the Bills rotate at you. They're going to play all 8, and they're terrific against the run. I mean, they've got Ed Oliver, the top 10 pick out of Houston. He switches sides. Trey Hopkins, the Bengals center, was saying how he's always in the backfield. It just gets harder. You know, just when they need a break, you got probably going to have a new left guard and Billy Price up there because Michael Jordan's hurt. Andre Smith, the backup left tackle, who had a groin problem and had to leave. It looks like he's going to be okay, but what kind of shape is he going to be in? It's really they've got people staying up nights with this one, Hoardy, because the run game is so important in Zach Taylor's offense. I mean, I think we all know how good of a quarterback Andy Dalton is when he has help, and when he's got the run game, how good he is in play action, and how effective this offense can be. But if he can't run the ball, it's you're running in place. I hate to fire out the stat. People hate me to do it, but in games, the Bengals have at least 30 attempts. I'm not talking about total yards, but in the games, they have at least 30 attempts. Andy Dalton is 45, 5, and 2. Take it for what it's worth. Maybe that's a stat for every quarterback, but that didn't happen at all last year in 2018, and it has happened since he got hurt in 2015. Since then, they've only done it 12 times, run the ball at least 30 times. So I think, before they can take the next step, they've got to take several steps in the running game.
Andy's 2nd in the NFL in passing yards. John Ross, number 1 in receiving yards, but they are throwing it 76% of the time, obviously a much higher percentage than they would like. Let's talk about the Bengals on defense. They've given up 500 or more yards 24 times in their history, 4 times in the last 14 games. They did it last week after a sensational performance in Week 1 against Seattle.
I think that's the mind-blowing thing is well, there were 2 things really, because last year I think everybody, Hoardy, they would point to it and say, well, the scheme was too complex. Everybody's has embraced the Lou Anarumo scheme, simpler, less things to do in it, and they played so well in Seattle. And then in Frisco, it just they couldn't stop. They couldn't stop the run, and that's the biggest thing. I mean, when you look at that, there's 2 categories in that game that stand out: 25 rushing yards that they got, and the 259 yards that they gave up. And they have they have to decide, was it a scheme thing or what is it? I mean, to me, it looks like a tackling issue. I think they put some things on tape that Frisco figured out. So now I think the playing field's a little even. They saw a different look. Didn't go well for them. Fix it. And, I think the big thing is they can't be on the field for so long. They have to possess the ball. Now, they had the ball longer than Frisco did on Sunday. So they've just got to, they can't, well, the guy averaged 10 yards per carry, right? Pretty basic what has to be done. They have to, they have to stop the run and they have to run it.
They're facing a second-year quarterback in Josh Allen. He might have the strongest throwing arm in the NFL, but he's an interesting guy when you watch the Buffalo Bills games. So far this year, he's made the difficult passes, and he's missed on some of the easy ones. We'll see if the Bengals can confuse him on Sunday in Buffalo. For Geoff Hobson and our photographer, Marissa Contepelli, I'm Dan Hoard. Thanks for checking out Bengals Breakdown here on Bengals.com.